What's going on, guys? This is Warfield bringing you guys another video. So for today's video, we're going to be talking about winter's coming, right? So a little bit of tips and tricks and a couple things you could look out for in wintertime and hopefully get you prepared for what's coming. The worst season to drive as a driver, winter's coming. So first and foremost, you just have to be prepared for whatever winter is going to throw at you, right? There's times that you can be shut down for days, maybe even a week. Who knows? You know, winter is ever changing every single time. So these are a couple things that you want to make sure that you have done and kind of ready for before you even get into a bad scenario in the snow or anything like that. So first thing you want to do is make sure that your tire pressure is good, right? So once it starts getting pretty cold, you're going to hear that low tire pressure alarm inside of your truck beeping off at you. It's going to be really annoying. It's going to wake you up dead out of your sleep. So when your truck is cold, when your tires are cold, inflate your tires to 100 psi. Probably one of the most important things that you're going to need while you're driving is going to have to be able to see, right? So with that, you want to make sure that you're getting some brand new windshield wipers. You can go to terminals to get them. They only put them on for you if you go to Salem, Oregon, Payette, Idaho, Layton, Utah. Even Greenwood, Nebraska, these type of terminals, we even install them for you. So if you have no idea how to even put them on, I definitely recommend that you even kind of stand by. It's not too complicated, but just kind of stand by and see how they are put on in case one of yours break or whatever. You'll know how to replace them. Make sure you guys get spares as well. So I definitely recommend getting some new windshield wiper fluids and getting 2 spares as well in case any of them go out during this season. Huge believer of Rain-X as well. I love Rain-X. It keeps the bugs off your windows all the time, but especially in the winter time, it kind of keeps your windows clear, right? So what you really need to be able to see out these things. So I definitely recommend getting some Rain-X as well. It's not just a winter thing, it's a 24/7 365 thing. Definitely recommend getting some Rain-X for your windshields as well. So you never know when you're gonna be shut down for long periods of time, right? It might be shut down for a night due to snow. You might be shut down for a couple days, maybe even a week. You have no idea. So you always want to make sure that you're going to be prepared for that, right? So you want to have an emergency supply of food, water, and warm clothes and things like that, so you can get by in the worst case scenarios, right? So I'll show you guys right now. I keep all my normal food right there in a little tub as well, but underneath my bunk I store an extra full 40 cases of water and a whole bunch of canned soup as well, just in case. You never know when it's going to happen, so just an emergency supply. You never want to touch it. Just kind of keep it for when that day does come. I want to look at our cables and our chains as well. So before you get into these situations, you want to make sure pull off the cables off of your truck, actually lay them out, look at them, even throw one on. If you don't remember how to throw a cable or whatever, just do it in a normal controlled warm situation, so you kind of know how to do it as well. So when it comes to being in snow, ice, wet, dirty, and muddy, you'll already know what you're doing, right? So lay out your cables, look at them, make sure that they're good. If not, go to a terminal, get them replaced, get some brand new ones. Look at the ones on your trailer as well, especially if you have those super singles. Make sure you guys got cables for those as well. Every single trailer you pick up, make sure it has cables, because you are gonna have to cable up those trailer tires as well. So make sure it has cables. always make sure you actually have an extra pair of cables as well. So I keep an extra pair underneath my bunk as well, just in case if your cables ever break or whatever, you got an extra pair. If there's a trailer that doesn't have any cables, you know, you got an extra pair just in case. So make sure you go to a terminal, get a brand new set of cables, and just store them underneath your bunk for a rainy day, or I guess a snowy day in this scenario. So, tips on driving, right? So you never driven through snow, you never driven in a tractor trailer in snow, right? So some tips and trips that actually have to do with driving in snow or bad weather conditions. So these should be things that you carry out even through, you know, all 4 seasons, right? So you should always be doing things like this. So when you're changing lanes, make sure you're doing it nice, slow, easy, no jerky movements. Especially when you're changing lanes, you're usually going from, you know, a beaten path, which is usually pretty decent and nice to run on, and then you're crossing over to, you know, snow, ice, slush, things like that while you're changing lanes. So make sure you guys are doing it really slow, controlled, and make sure there's no jerky movements, because once you have those jerky movements, that's when you have potential to jackknife. So while you're driving, you kind of want to drive the beaten path for you, right? So you want to follow your tires on, you'll be able to see on the road. Follow where the other trucks and cars are going as well. Leave your tires on the beaten path, because once you veer off from that beaten path, that's where you're actually going into ice, snow, things like that. So we're mostly going to be on cruise control, right? When we're driving for Mate Trucking Company, we want to be on that cruise, you know, better fuel mileage. When it's winter time, you do not want to be on your cruise control or on your Jake brakes in snowy, icy, bad road conditions. So when the roads are bad, get off of your cruise control, get off of your Jake brakes. Do not use them. It makes it more dangerous. So if you have your cruise set to 61, if you hit a slick spot, those winds are going to keep turning, and that's going to cause you to jackknife. Same thing for your Jake brakes. If you're using your Jake brakes in bad weather conditions, your Jake brakes are only slowing down your tractor. They're not slowing down your trailer. So that's going to cause your trailer, if it loses traction whenever, it's going to cause another jackknife. So just be careful. Do not be on your Jake brakes. Do not be on cruise control if the roads are bad. If you're on ice, slush, slickness, snow, do not be on cruise control. Be on the pedal. Scenario, if anything does happen, all right, you don't want to brake. Never want to brake. This is stuff that you should have learned in school. You guys should already know this stuff, right? I'm just pointing it out in case it might be a friendly reminder, because you haven't been in school in a year or two. So do not want to brake in bad, you know, scenarios. If you're having a jackknife or whatever, do not brake, right? You want to kind of coast through, and you kind of want to turn towards the problem. You want to correct it and coast to it. Hopefully you gain control and traction back, and then you can kind of, you know, drive like normal. But do not brake. I know your first instinct is going to be wanting to brake and wanting to slow this truck down, but please remember, friendly reminder, do not brake if you are in an emergency situation in ice, snow, slickness. Called winter descent mode in our trucks, and it's kind of hard to show you how to use it unless you're actually having to use it. So winter descent mode is for when you're kind of going down grades in wintertime, because you don't want to be on your Jake brakes, you don't want to be on your service brakes. So we have this mode called winter descent mode. So to get into it, you have to be under 25 miles an hour, and you're gonna have to use the shifter to downshift it. It might be fighting you a couple of times, but 25 miles an hour and below, and you're gonna be downshifting until it actually puts you into this mode. So you might have to fight it a couple, 2 or 3 times or whatever, but eventually the engine will realize, oh, you want to be in winter descent mode. It will put you in it. There's no icon or notification that you're actually in it, but you'll have to be under 25 miles an hour is the speed you want to be going anyways if you are going down a downgrade in winter conditions. Speed limit 25 or below. So a key question I get asked a lot is, when do you even chain, or when do you even cable up, right? So if you think you got a cable up, right? It's always better to be safer than sorry. You only really want to cable up or chain up to get out of a bad situation, to kind of find somewhere to park and then call it a night. Mate Trucking, all we care about is going to be your safety all of the time, right? So they're never going to ask you to, drive 300 miles with chains or cables on. That's not what they want. They want you to be safe, pull over, and when it's safe to do so, kind of continue. If you're just going an overpass, if it's only going to be like 30 miles of chain laws or having to cable up, that is when you probably want to chain and cable up to just get past that and then keep going, right? So if there's other trucks on the side of the road pulled over, chaining up, you should probably be chaining up, cabling up as well. The thing I did learn though is that when you're light and if you're going up, if you're going to be cabling up and you're going to be climbing, these chains and cables, they don't really work too well because you need weight pressing down on your drives to get that stability, to get that traction. Because I learned from my mistakes. I've cabled up with like about 20,000 in the back, and I was climbing a grade. All the weight's on the tandems when you're climbing, so I had no pressure, I had no weight coming down the drives. So even with fully cabled up, I was still, my wheels were still spinning. I was still my wheels were still spinning, right? So I couldn't get any traction climbing. I had to get towed out of there. Really embarrassing, right? So I didn't know. Learn from my mistakes. If you are really light, like 20,000 in the back, consider, even stopping before chain laws, or stopping before you have to cable up, because being so light and cabling it doesn't really do too much, because you need weight on your drives to actually get that traction. If you're climbing, all that weight's going to be on your tandems, and you're not going to be able to get much traction, so it kind of defeats the whole purpose of chaining. So we use anti-gel. So anti-gel is an additive that we add into our fuel lines. We put it into our fuel and also into our reefer as well. Of course, we don't put it into our DEF. So anti-gel, when we're fueling, we'll put it in before we fuel, so it mixes in while we're fueling. You could check on the bottle of the actual anti-gel as well. It'll tell you how much to put. You can get this stuff at any of the terminals. They'll provide it with you. Get with your DEM. You can even buy them at Pilots, any truck stops as well. You'll get reimbursed for it. So make sure you guys are actually putting in this anti-gel. You start putting it in at freezing temperatures. So what's freezing? Easy trucker math. Freezing temperature is going to be 32 degrees or below, right? So when we are cabling up, you might ask, what tires are we going to actually be throwing these cables on? So your steers, you do not want to cable up your steers, right? For your drives, you're going to cable up all 4 drives. So you should have 2 sets of cables on your tractor, 4 cables. So you want to cable up your 4 drive tires. And for your trailer, you want to do your driver's side back. So you don't want to do the front, because that's where your airlines are. So if your cable rips, it might pull on the airline, rip out your trailer airlines as well. So when you're cabling up, you want to do the driver's side back, and you want to do the passenger's side front. So you're going to offset them, right? So back, front, driver's side back, passenger side front, all 4 drives, 4 chains or cable. The speed limit with cables is going to be 25 miles an hour. Realistically, you don't want to be driving that fast. You do not want your cables or chains to be breaking. So realistically, you'll probably be driving or traveling about 15-20 miles an hour in these conditions. Do not get pressured if there's super truckers passing you. Do not try to go faster. You do not want your cables or chains to break as well. If they do, I mean, they're super truckers. They can drive with no chains or no cables, right? So make sure you guys are doing the right thing, right? Stick to the speed limit. Speed limit is 25. Go below it about 15-20 miles an hour with chains or with cables. An app called Windy on my phone. That app's really good for checking wind conditions. Wind is actually our biggest enemy. Wind compiled with snow makes it really dangerous for us to drive, and that's when we usually shut down. But that will show you when there's new snow, show you how many inches of it, what your wind conditions like, how much your gusts are. It's a really good app to kind of know your weather and your road conditions, because that's probably our biggest enemy, is going to be your weather. So another really good app that I love to use when we're fueling, that Pilot Flying J app. I talk about that one the most, because that's the one we're usually fueling at. It's going to be Pilot or Flying J's. I'm sure TA Petros have their own app. I never use them because I never really fuel there, so I'm just lazy. I don't download it. But Pilot Flying J app, make sure you guys are downloading it. Link your EFS card, link your rewards card. It even has push for points right now, so it gives you more points for using the app, up to 4 times however much points you would have gotten just using your card at the pump. But yeah, make sure you guys are using the app. I mean, it's gonna be freezing cold outside. You guys don't want to be messing with that machine in like 5-degree weather, right? So stay inside your warm truck, fill everything out, right there on your phone, right there on your app, and then go outside. And all you gotta do is just push in the code, and it selects everything for you, right? It'll already have all the information you need. Just put in the code and pump your fuel accordingly. Your bunk heater. Your bunk heater is amazing, right? It's going to keep you warm in cold conditions. So know how to operate your bunk heater. Make sure it's working properly. If not, go make sure you guys take it into a shop and stuff, because you don't want to be freezing cold outside with those 10, 20, 30-degree weather, right? So you want to make sure you're comfortable. Worst case scenario, pack a couple extra blankets for winter, just in case. You always want to have some just in case emergency stuff, right? So yeah, make sure you guys know how to operate your bunk heater. All you do is just press it on, and then left or right changes the temperature, hotter or colder. That's pretty much it. Super simple. So yeah, make sure you guys are actually using that OptiIdle as well, to make sure that your trucks are not turning off in cold conditions. You don't want your lines to freeze up, so when temperatures get to really low, I mean 32 degrees is freezing. Once it starts getting like 10, 0, make sure you don't turn your truck off anymore. So make sure you have the OptiIdle set. If you guys have any more tips or tricks or things that you can kind of prepare yourself for, please leave them in the comments below. I will be more than happy to see them. I might even make a part 2 if there's enough of them, besides the basics, right? Like, be warm.